based on the research that I've done, adolescents need their parents just as much as babies do, but it's in a different way. Little baby is more about raising that, little human being so that they can be fed and they can be nurtured. Adolescents need a lot of support in processing things and evaluating things and self-reflection and emotional regulation. And so really understanding that even if it's difficult or awkward, those conversations really matter.
What's some advice that you can give to parents of teens that are specifics that they can do to give opportunities or encourage their teenage children?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and again, I'm very blessed to be the person. I get to coach a lot of young people, as I know a lot of parents. So like I get to kind of live in both worlds, and I see both sides of when a young person's like, "Oh my gosh, my mom and I had this great conversation last week, and she was telling me about some of these things. It was a little awkward, but I'm really glad that we had this really deep dive." And I heard the mom story. "Oh my gosh, I tried to talk about this subject. My daughter was rolling her eyes the whole time. It was super awkward." And to hear those different perspectives where the mom's like, "Oh, why did we even have the conversation?" And the daughter is like, "Oh yeah, it was really meaningful." Now, young people, especially adolescents, are in a space where they're trying to assert their independence. They're trying to start to show that they can live on their own. It's kind of this concept of, shifting from adolescence to adulthood. So they're not going to necessarily tell mom and dad, "Hey, I'm really glad you brought up this awkward conversation. This was great." But they may tell someone else that. And even if they act like they're not listening, they are listening. In fact, there was one researcher, and this isn't to insult adolescents, it's just to say that it's a really formative time of development. This researcher said, look, based on the research that I've done, adolescents need their parents just as much as babies do, but it's in a different way. Little baby is more about raising that, little human being so that they can be fed and they can be nurtured. Adolescents need a lot of support in processing things and evaluating things and self-reflection and emotional regulation. And so really understanding that even if it's difficult or awkward, those conversations really matter. And taking the time to say, "Hey, I noticed this is what I'm observing about your, what's going on. You seem really kind of disconnected, really upset. Let's have a conversation about what's going on. I want to understand more." And just asking questions instead of telling solutions is a really helpful way for young people to think through things. So that would be first thing. I would say, one, it's okay to have awkward conversations. They are listening even if they act like they're not. Two, more is caught than taught. What do I mean by that? Young people are sponges. They are constantly watching you as a parent or you as a mentor or advisor for your behavior. So more than what you say, what you do matters. And I say, if you want your young person to eventually find their own special someone and be treated with respect, make sure if you're in a married, in a relationship, that you treat your partner with respect. Like you're modeling what you want your young people to do and how you want your young people to basically live their own life. So if you want your young people, your children, to be trustworthy and have integrity, guess what? Act with integrity. If you want them to treat others with kindness and respect, guess what? Treat others with kindness and respect. If you want them to love themselves and treat themselves with kindness and grace, guess what? Treat yourself with kindness and grace. So it's not an easy one, but it's super important. And then I would say the third thing, and having coached young people, had so many conversations, lived in the world of teenagers for so many years. The third thing I would say is recognize that every time you give your teenager a compliment, you're programming their brain on what matters. And so the reason I say this, and very well-intentioned, amazing parents will say, "Hey, oh my gosh, you got straight A's. That's so awesome. You're so smart." Or, "Oh my gosh, you got, an A++. That's great." Or, "You got an A on this. You did the perfect goal." Those compliments are okay. Those are performance-based compliments. That is okay. But if a young person only hears performance-based compliments, what we're teaching them is the only thing that matters is their performance as opposed to their character. So if a young person's a star athlete, I would actually recommend that they hear more compliments about how they played the game. "Hey, you know what, Emily, I loved how you passed that soccer ball to Jessica and how you really equipped her to set up that goal." So things that are about character, kindness, gratitude, teamwork, the skills that are actually more important than just a perfect score. emphasizing, acknowledging, rewarding those things are actually training this very malleable adolescent brain on what matters. Teenagers are attuned to rewards and recognition. What we reward and recognize during the teen years becomes what their adult brain is focused on. And so I see so many human doings, perfectionists trying to achieve get performance, but it's because I believe in part they didn't get the recognition for their internal work of who they were becoming as a person of worth because of who they are, as opposed to what they were doing.